Okay, so we're going to look at percent change. So percent change is something you see in the newspapers all the time. Crime rates are up 3.2%, or the population of Lake City is down 11.5%. These are percent changes we see in the newspaper and online all the time. And so we're just going to figure out, well, how do they find these numbers? So there's a formula up here, and it's going to be a big fraction. So at the top of your box, you're going to write new value minus old value. And then you divide it by the old value. So I'll let you get that written down. So it's new value minus old value divided by old value. So you have to subtract first and then take the answer and divide, and we'll go through those steps with the calculator. And then down here, if the answer is positive, I'm just going to put a plus sign for positive. It means a percentage increase. That's a really small blank. You could always just put I and C to abbreviate for increase, since this is notes. If the answer is negative, it means a percent decrease. It just means it's going down. And you could just do DEC for decrease if you want to make that shorter. So that's basically how this is going to work. In science, you use a similar formula to do some other things. So this eventually you might see in science class too. I don't know if it'll be this year, but it shows up in a lot of places. My AP students that are taking AP biology are using something like this quite a bit for their labs. Okay, so our first example we're going to do is this one. It has Peter's weight increases from 48 kilograms to 60 kilograms. Well, we already know it's going to be positive because they give us that word increases. So if I'm going to mark old and new, what was his old weight? So his weight increases from 48 kilograms to 60 kilograms. So which one happened first? Which one's the old value? 48. So this is his old weight right here. And because it went from 48 and it went to 60 kilograms, and so that's going to be the new weight. Okay? And then it says find the percentage change, or sometimes they call it percent change, of his weight. So remember, we're going to do new minus old over old. I'm just going to give you like a shortened version. So the new is 60, minus old is 48, and then we'll divide by the old, which is 48. So you do this top part first, 60 minus 48. I'm going to do that on my calculator. 60 minus 48, so I'll show that on the screen. I'm doing 60 minus 48, and I get 12. So the top of my fraction is 12, and the bottom is 48. Now we could reduce that fraction, but because we're trying to do percent, we're going to do the easiest way to change fractions to percents, and that is to divide. And we used to use long division, but this year we're going to use the calculator to make this a little faster. So we're just going to type in 12 divided by 48, and it gives me 0.25 off the screen. There it is. So you get 0.25. So we write that down, and then we're going to change that to a percent. So to change it to a percent, we move it back 2 places. So it would be 25%. And because we went from 48 to 60, it went up. That is an increase. Okay? And they actually told us it was an increase on this one, but we also know because we got a positive number. Okay? So let's do the next one. David bought a car for $90,000 3 years ago. I don't know what kind of car costs $90,000. It must be like a Ferrari. No, that might be more than that. Maybe a souped out vet or something. I don't know. Expensive. More than I have ever paid for anything in my entire life. Probably all the vehicles I've bought ever didn't add up to $90,000.
Maybe a Hummer.
Huh?
Like a Hummer.
Maybe. It could be a Hummer, something like that. But anyway, so that was 3 years ago. He sells the car for $54,000 this year. It depreciated. The value went down because it's now a used Hummer. Okay? So what is the percentage change of his car's price? So what was the old value? $90,000. That's what he paid for it. And then the new value, because the value goes down with used cars, usually, this would be the new car. And then sometimes if they become antiques, they get more value, but it just kind of depends. It's a little iffy. For new cars, after 3 years, you're going to lose about that much value. It's just how it works. Okay, so if we're going to do new minus old over old, then I would have 54,000 minus 90,000 over 90,000 because I want to put it over the old. When I take my calculator and do just the top part, 54,000 minus 90,000, I get a negative, and that's because the price of his Hummer or whatever it was went down, and that's okay. So I'm just going to rewrite that. It's negative 36,000 is how much it went down, and it's like they're doing a comparison to what the original price was. So you take that number and divide by 90,000. I don't know if you guys know this trick, but if you already have the negative 36,000 on your calculator, you can just hit the divide key. It'll say answer, so it's taking this answer and dividing by 90,000. I always think of that as a carryover from adding machines. Adding machines used to let you kind of do that. And so we get negative 0.4. So negative 0.4 is what it gives me as the answer. Now it wants to know the percent change, so that's a decimal. How do we change it to a percent? Which way do I move the decimal point?
40%.
Okay, it's 40%, so you moved it to the right 2 places. And we don't put the negative on the answer. We're just going to say it was a 40% decrease. But it comes out negative because it went down. That's just the way that the formula was designed. And so if it goes down, you know you have a decrease. So that means that this car lost 40% of its value, almost half in 3 years, which unfortunately does happen. We have a family member, my husband's grandfather, bought a Corvette for I don't know how much. And then a year later, he passed away, and they went and sold it just recently, and they didn't get out of it what he paid for it because it's a used car. Even if it was a 2016, it's now 2017. It's really not that old, but you can't get as much out of it because he drove quite a bit on it for a year.
Wow.
Yep.
Divided in your husband's grandpa or?
Yeah, his grandpa. So, but I'm just, the value of things, especially...
How come he didn't keep it?
Well, so the family was selling it to pay for other things. So, yeah, the thing was everybody wanted it, so it's just easier if it sells and they divide up the money, which we're not direct heirs, so it's not going to affect us. All right, so my monthly telephone bill was $94 last month. It is $91 this month. Find the percent change. So, which one is the old value? 94. So this is my old value. So that means the 91 is my new value. So I'm going to do new minus old over old. So the new value we said was 91. Subtract the old value, 94. And then divide by the old value, which is 94. So if you take 91 minus 94 on your calculator, it will give you -3, which means that my phone bill went down $3 this month. Yay! I don't know that that's ever happened to me, but you never know. And then we'll divide it by 94. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in. And so I did the first one in my head, so I'll just put -3 divided by 94. And we get negative, so I've got to round this off. So when you're doing your percentages, you need at least 2 decimal places. So I'm going to round it off to the 3, and then I need to look next door to the 1. Does the 3 need to round up or not? No, because 1's pretty small. It's smaller than 5, so this is just going to stay negative 0.03. So that's what I'm going to write down, negative 0.03. So you need at least 2 decimals.